Do you ever have those rare yet perfect moments in life where everything just works out and you stop and think, man, I wish there had been a camera rolling to capture that moment? Yeah, that'd be pretty cool sometimes. Anyway, well, put down the remote and don't change the channel. You're watching Old, New, and Now Playing. Hello and welcome to Old, New, and Now Playing, your time machine through the world of movies. I'm your host, Will Robinson Smith, and thank you so much for joining me on this very first new review in which we look at movies within the past 30 years. But of course, on Old, New, and Now Playing, no matter what time period we're talking about, we like to keep things rooted in the now with our first segment, The Rundown.
Say it. Don't you say it.
Left.
Come on!
Now, normally there isn't a theme to this part of the show, but apparently all the stars aligned in the last couple of days to make this a musical-themed edition of The Rundown. Let's start things off with a bit of nostalgia. Disney had previously dropped that we would be getting a live-action sequel to the beloved 1964 classic Mary Poppins, and yesterday they gave us more nuggets to chew on. The studio confirmed rumors that Emily Blunt will indeed take on the role made iconic by Julie Andrews and will be joined by one of the biggest names in musical theater today, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Miranda, of course, wrote and currently stars in the Broadway smash Hamilton, which not only won a Grammy earlier this year, but is also nominated for 16 Tony Awards. Miranda will play a new character named Jack, who works as a street lamplighter. The movie, officially titled Mary Poppins Returns, is slated for a Christmas 2018 release date and has the following synopsis. Drawing from the wealth of material in P.L. Travers' 7 additional novels, the story will take place in Depression-era London when the books were originally written, and follows a now grown Jane and Michael Banks who, along with Michael's 3 children, are visited by the enigmatic Mary Poppins following a personal loss. Through her unique magical skills, and with the aid of her friend Jack, she helps the family rediscover the joy and wonder missing in their lives. Disney will also bring back the production team behind the 2014 film Into the Woods, including director Rob Marshall, who also directed the musical-turned-movie Chicago in 2002. Regarding the project, Marshall said, "I am truly humbled and honored to be asked by Disney to bring P.L. Travers' further adventures to the screen. The iconic original film means so much to me personally, and I look forward to creating an original movie musical that can bring Mary Poppins and her message that childlike wonder can be found in even the most challenging of times to a whole new generation." According to the release, Mark Shaman will be composing an all-new score for the film, with he and Scott Whitman also writing original songs for the movie. The duo won a Tony Award for Best Original Score for the 60s-style musical Hairspray. And while I don't doubt the talent that Disney has put behind this project, I think they're going to have a bit of an uphill climb on this one. I mean, when you consider how beloved Mary Poppins was as a film, it's going to be hard to please all of those fans. But I think that Emily Blunt was an inspired bit of casting. I thought she did a wonderful job in Into the Woods, and I'm very excited to see how Lin-Manuel Miranda does when he takes on a featured film role like this. I've fallen in love with Hamilton the musical. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it's definitely worth a listen, definitely worth the purchase. But going back to this movie, I think as far as the music is concerned, that's another big challenge for them, because the soundtrack and the score that the Sherman Brothers created for the original film, with songs like Let's Go Fly a Kite and Spoonful of Sugar and, of course, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, are going to be really hard to match, and I hope that they invite Richard Sherman to be at least a consult as they tread through the musical journey. Staying with Lin-Manuel Miranda, in addition to stepping from the stage to the silver screen in Mary Poppins Returns, the Pulitzer Prize winner will also land in the producer's chair for another project. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Miranda will be teaming up with the Weinstein Company to make a movie adaptation of Miranda's other huge hit, In the Heights. The 2008 Tony Award-winning musical focuses on a community living in the neighborhood of Washington Heights over the course of 3 days. It's a story of passions, community, and opportunity, featuring hip-hop, salsa, merengue, and soul music. Scott Sanders, the producer of the stage adaptation of The Color Purple and the 2012 revival of Evita, will be producing the project, which is aiming for a $15 million budget. Talking to THR about the project, Sanders said, "As a kid from Queens, I've always loved bringing New York stories to film. In the Heights and Lin-Manuel brought Washington Heights to Broadway back in 2008, and in the process turned the theater world on its head. The movie musicals of the 1950s were incredible, but In the Heights will revolutionize what movie audiences expect from the genre." Originally, the film was supposed to be made through Universal Studios, but back in 2011, the studio dropped the project, supposedly because of the $37 million budget. No release date for the film has been announced. And finally, according to Deadline, Fox is one step closer to bringing the musical classic Guys and Dolls back to the big screen. Michael Grandage has been tapped to direct the project, with Danny Strong writing the script. Strong is known for writing Lee Daniels' The Butler, as well as The Hunger Games Mockingjay Parts 1 and 2. Grandage also directed a stage version of the show in the West End in 2005, which starred Ewan McGregor as Sky Masterson and Douglas Hodge as Nathan Detroit. Frank Sinatra and Marlon Brando starred in the 1955 adaptation about gambler Nathan Detroit, who wants to set up a floating craps game and hustles to get the cash to make it happen. To do so, he bets Sky Masterson that Sky can't get the righteous Sarah Brown to go on a date with him. This is one of the first musicals I was introduced to as a child, and so I'm interested to see a new retelling of the story, but I think I'll temper my excitement just a little bit until we get an official announcement of who's going to be playing the lead roles. But guys, now that you're all caught up, let's head straight into our main segment, your feature presentation. The Truman Show is a 1998 movie starring Jim Carrey, which gave him his first Golden Globe win for Best Actor Drama. It also gave Oscar nods to actor Ed Harris, director Peter Weir, and writer Andrew Niccol. The film comes at the end of a decade that featured some of Carrey's best and zaniest performances, with characters like the fourth wall-breaking titular character in 1994's The Mask.
For you, son! A little body English. A French poodle. Sorry, son, the dog was rabid, had to put it down.
Or lying lawyer turned truth-teller Fletcher Reed in Liar Liar.
You know what I'm gonna do about this?
What?
Nothing! Because if I take it to small claims court, it'll just drain 8 hours out of my life, and you probably won't show up. And if I finally got the judgment, you'd just stiff me anyway. So what I'm gonna do is piss and moan like an impotent jerk, and then bend over and take it up the tailpipe!
You've been here before, haven't you?
As a fan of Carrey's work, I found this movie to be a nice change of pace for him, with his character of Truman Burbank feeling less like a cartoon character and more of a grounded human being, with some occasional flares of kookiness thrown in, of course. The movie revolves around Truman Burbank in every possible way. He's an insurance salesman living in the coastal town of Sea Haven, Florida, with his wife Meryl, played by Laura Linney. Unbeknownst to Truman, though, he is the star of a reality show called The Truman Show, which is a 24-hour program that follows his every move, with a couple of rare exceptions.
Come to bed.
You never see anything anyway. They always turn the camera and play music, and the wind blows in and the curtains move, and you don't see anything.
Because Truman lives such a routine and mundane life, he can have many predictable sitcom-like moments and catchphrases, like when interacting with townfolk and when he greets his neighbors.
Good morning!
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
However, considering that this is a 24-hour reality show, there are some continuity mistakes that do happen, like when a studio light comes crashing down outside of Truman's house. But for every mistake, there is a clever in-world way of covering it up, so Truman goes on unaware. The turn of the film, though, comes from watching Truman become aware that there's something wrong with his world and that certain things aren't adding up. Much of the film's enjoyment comes from finding out exactly how the world unravels for Truman and how he decides to confront it. I won't give away any spoilers, but it's fun to watch the scenes in which Truman feels trapped and you see him push back on the way he's lived his life up until now. Even though I do love Jim Carrey's characters that feel larger than life, this may be one of, if not my favorite performance by him. He does get kooky at times, but he feels like a very grounded character overall. So when you see him get a little bit nutty when he starts to realize what's happening to him, those moments feel earned and you really believe the choices he's making. A lot of credit for the success of this movie has to go to director Peter Weir and his team. From the moment you see the town of Sea Haven, you get the feeling that something is really amiss with this place. However, it's done in such a way that if you put yourself in Truman's shoes, things really wouldn't seem off most of the time. Aiding in the feel of the town is the wonderful cinematography. Some of the shots feel like ones you would see in any other movie, but when cinematographer Peter Bizio starts introducing shots that are obviously hidden cameras shooting Truman, it causes you as the viewer to doubt and question if we are ever really just seeing Truman for ourselves, or if it is a manipulation of the fictitious show. I could go on and on about all the wonderful parts of this movie, but of course no film is perfect, and there were some things in this one that I took issue with. For instance, there are some moments when you definitely feel like Truman should really have some idea of what's going on, but then he doesn't. Like early on in the movie when he gets rained on, but only in the exact spot where he is, and then the rain follows him. Honestly though, I'm having to reach a bit to find things I didn't like because overall, I really enjoyed this movie. As most 90s Jim Carrey comedies do, this film made me laugh a lot, but also maintained its heart. It definitely gets silly at times, but it sucks you in and makes you think about our own consumption of so-called reality TV. Considering our society's continued and expanding interest in different reality platforms, The Truman Show remains just as relevant as it was nearly 18 years ago. I gave The Truman Show a 9 out of 10 for its fun, its cleverness, and its heart. And as an added feature of Old, New, and Now Playing, there will always be some kind of connection between all of the films I review in any given week. Both Witness and The Truman Show were directed by Australian director Peter Weir, and I challenge you now to figure out the connection between this movie and the movie for my next review, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. And that will do for today's episode of Old, New, and Now Playing. Have you had a chance to see The Truman Show, or have you yourself ever been in a reality show? If so, let me know in the comments section. I want to hear all about it. And if you ever want to have a question featured on Old, New, and Now Playing, just send me a tweet. My handle is @W_Robinson-Smith. Just use the hashtag PopTweets so I know it's a question you want to have featured on the show. Or you can send me an email at oldnewnowplaying@gmail.com. Just put PopTweets question in the subject line. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with my review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. And if you want to catch either of my first two reviews, you can check them out here and here. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on Friday.